Crown has you covered. Start your day with the first word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch. Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First word for your morning sports, the working lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Midday in the Queen City, business is booming. Hey, keep your eyes on me. I've got the executive director of Blink, Leslie Mooney, my guest on the show today. Also, shots fired in Hyde Park, metaphorically. Let's do lunch. Cincinnati is a city that means business. Fortune 500 company HQs,
renowned institutions like Children's Hospital and the Cincinnati Zoo, and letters that everyone here knows: TQL, GE, CVG, UC, and X. It's also a city that's large enough for new ideas to take root and grow. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you're in business. I'm Jack Crumley, and this is The Working Lunch.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to The Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. This is our hour-long business show here on The Crown, where we bring you headlines and stories about businesses, nonprofits, and the arts scene all around town, bring you interviews with CEOs and local leaders, and also try to squeeze in a bite to eat or maybe a drink before you go back to face the afternoon. Glad to have you here. Starting off today with Cincinnati business headlines. We are still in the midst of Cincy AI Week. Make sure you check out the interview with Summer Crenshaw from Monday to learn more about various businesses and various partnerships in Ohio when it comes to what is being billed as the inevitability of AI. Meantime, Ohio lawmakers are making moves when it comes to data centers. Substitute House Bill 646 is now informally advancing so far. It would reduce by half the sales tax breaks and property tax breaks that companies get for data centers. It would add new regulations to keep Ohio citizens from paying higher electric rates because of increased usage from all that computing. And it creates environmental regulations for all the water that data centers use. Adams County is just one part of Ohio where people are fighting construction of a data center. Many critics of the bill say that it doesn't go far enough. We are in the early stages of this specific piece of legislation. We'll see if it's given more teeth as it moves ahead. There was recent reporting that tax breaks in order to build data centers cost the state of Ohio over $1.5 billion last year, and the governor has since put that tax break on pause. We have new reporting about a big Cincinnati company seeing top leadership leave, and this time we're not talking about Kroger. It is Procter & Gamble. There's a piece by the Inquirer's Alexander Coolidge this morning that details how a number of top executives at P&G, who are women, have left the company this year in the wake of Shailesh Jejurikar being named CEO. The head of P&G's global paper products division, Fatima Francisco, is leaving in the fall. She ran Pampers and Charmin, part of the company that represents about a quarter of P&G's total sales. That Inquirer piece says that Francisco herself could have been on track to be CEO. Alexandra Keith of P&G's beauty business left earlier this year, and Jennifer Davis of the healthcare division will retire at the end of this month. And like the executive changes at Kroger when Greg Foran took the reins there, it is unclear if this new leadership is cleaning house, if it's folks who thought that they should be new company leaders and are frustrated, or if this is just a period of transition. P&G has $84 billion in sales per year. How many Gillette Fusion 5 razors is that, Jack? 84 billion Gillette Fusion 5 razors would fill over 100 Olympic swimming pools. All those pictures of a crane being delivered by barge on the Ohio River mean work on the Brent Spence Corridor project is actually getting going. And if you drive in northern Kentucky, there is a new detour you're taking that could be a headache until this time next year. Drivers headed northbound on 75 looking to get off at 12th Street are going to have to take a big loop around. Take a look.
Hey there, this is Jake Ryle, Public Information Officer for the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet District 6. As part of the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor project, the 12th Street MLK Jr. Boulevard Pike Street exit from I-7175 northbound will be closed. Here's how you can navigate the closure to reach your destination in Covington. After you pass the 12th Street exit or exit 191, stay in the right lane.
So this has you looping all the way around, going past 12th Street, getting off at 5th there near Mainstrasse, and then taking a left, looping back around on 4th Street, and then working your way to the ramps to go south on 75. That is, let's say, a lot. That exit being closed at 12th Street, Pike Street, is near the Kenton County Clerk's Office. It's near Prince of Peace Catholic School. And it's also near restaurants like Wunderbar and Ola Taqueria. Herb and Thelma's is on the other side of the highway. I suppose that's Herb and Thelma's, since that's a person's name. Taking that exit to 5th Street and then heading north to 4th, looping around, is right by Mainstrasse. That whole exit can get pretty crowded, too, if you've ever driven that way. And just to the north of all that, in case all that traffic change wasn't enough, which again, that closure goes until next year. As if that wasn't enough, just a little bit north of there, they're breaking ground in Covington today. We've got a rendering that's been released of what the Commonwealth Center for Biomedical Excellence what that's going to look like on the busy River Center Boulevard. That new structure is going to put NKU's Salmon P. Chase College of Law into the same building as UK College of Medicine's Northern Kentucky campus. Lawyers and doctors there together. Do you think that the moms of other buildings in that neighborhood ask their building children, why can't you be a doctor building and a lawyer building? That's just a tough act to follow. This is something being paid for by the state of Kentucky. The two institutions are expected to bring about 600 students, faculty, and staff to that part of downtown Covington. And finally, you know, I'm feeling kind of warm. I think I've got World Cup fever. And so does the Banks. The Banks is the 2026 soccer viewing village. They've announced that. Families can get together, get a bite, get a drink, and watch the World Cup. That all starts with today's matchups and runs until June 19th with USA versus Australia. The matches will be on the big outdoor screen at the Banks. Evening and weekend watch parties are set up for the big matches as well. It is free and open to all, but do keep in mind the Banks does have a 21 and up policy for the weekends. Turning now into today's Big Bite. We could be gearing up for round 2 of the Hyde Park Square development fight. It was just a week ago when the development group of PLK Communities and others put out its new plan for what they want to build on Hyde Park Square. The main thing you need to know about that is, you can see it right there, that big S-shaped building would be new development. So that's Erie Avenue there on top, running along where the actual square is. The Allays apartment building is in that sort of very top corner. That's going to be renovated in the plan. On the far right, that's the fire department building. That's going to be kept. The upper part of the new S construction is going to be going over top of some new buildings that are going to be torn down. PLK recently acquired a couple of those older buildings to bulldoze them out of the way for that curve in the S building. This proposal does not involve building a hotel, which was something that the citizen group called Save Hyde Park Square spoke out against. The other big issue that group had with the previous proposal was the height. It's just too big. That's the top of their website there. That previous proposal was about 20 feet taller than just about anything else on Hyde Park Square. They felt it made too many changes to the heart of a neighborhood that was founded back in the late 1800s. In one of Save Hyde Park Square's most recent public statements, after Cincinnati City Council revoked the rezoning request that would have let that large structure that was originally proposed go up, Save Hyde Park Square said its position is straightforward, supporting thoughtful, inclusive development that serves the long-term interests of Hyde Park, saying that any development should strengthen the square. That new development proposal from PLK is out, and that led to a statement back and forth on Wednesday between the development group and Save Hyde Park Square. Save Hyde Park Square says, you can see it there, while the developer's public statements characterize the new proposal as a substantially different proposal than their original one and say it reflects community input, the reality is the proposed new building is still massively large and does not match the architectural and historic character of Hyde Park Square. That is not a great sign that this can all be turned into something that everyone agrees on. I do have a couple other notable statements from that citizen group in the statement they put out. Instead of preserving Hyde Park Square's character, the new plan calls for demolishing one of its historically significant structures. That's one of those buildings that I mentioned was going to be knocked over. It's from 1915. Also, they want to know, why are we tearing down what is architecturally and historically significant simply to make room for a massive new development that ignores the surrounding context? They're talking about more generic buildings not strengthening Hyde Park's identity. Very little has meaningfully changed to address the core concerns repeatedly raised by the neighborhood over the last 18 to 24 months. They do point out they're glad to hear that the hotel part is not involved. In the aftermath of the group's statement, a response from the developer's spokesman was released. Jay Kincaid says Save Hyde Park Square put out that statement before asking for a meeting with the developers. The main part of Jay's statement is this: the revised plan reflects 2 years of engagement. After that engagement, our team chose to start over and submit a new plan, one that incorporates what we learned through that process. The plan reflects more than 24 specific design moves made in response to community feedback, including reductions in height. We have kept working, kept listening, and kept improving the plan. Even when those changes did not produce agreement, we kept investing and kept moving the plan forward rather than walking away. As we go through that main part of the statement, a couple other things to note from the developer's response that I wanted to point out. As far as that building goes that's going to get bulldozed down, that the citizen group was calling historic, the developer says that that building is not listed on any federal, state, or local historic register. It has not received any historic designation. It has not received historic federal funding. It says that no agreement was reached at last summer's meeting. The main unresolved issue was height. The team reduced the height in response, then attended the neighborhood's follow-up meeting in December and presented a further revised direction. One other bit: our goal has not changed, says the developers. We're confident in the plan we submitted. We're confident that the right path forward is the one we've been on from the start, through engagement, through listening, and through the city's formal review. So that's where we stand now. We are talking about over $100 million in development, demolition jobs, construction jobs, an underground parking garage, and new places for people to live in the very heart of one of the most affluent and prestigious neighborhoods in Cincinnati. The people in Hyde Park who were against the original plan used their voices and their affluence to get elected leaders to do what they were calling for, having a say in their neighborhood. Lots of decisions to be made by city leaders and others in the months to come here in round 2. That's your Big Bite on this Thursday. We are going to take a break. Coming up when we get back, the executive director of one of the most exciting and unique things that Cincinnati does, Blink. Executive Director Leslie Mooney is my guest next. Take a look at some stocks and stick around. You're watching The Working Lunch here on The Crown.
What is The Crown? It's simple, really. Authentic Cincinnati entertainment. Not hot takes from a studio 3 states away. Not national noise pretending to know this city. Rather, bringing a voice to those who call the Queen City home. Where can I watch The Crown shows? Join us live from 7 to 11 a.m. for First Word and 12 to 1 for The Working Lunch on RESN. No live TV? No problem. Stream and interact with all of our content on major podcast, broadcast, and streaming platforms. The Crown is Cincinnati. Loud, passionate, competitive, proud. From early morning sports debates to the business leaders shaping the riverfront, to the fans, stories, moments, and culture that make this place move. Live shows, podcasts, documentaries, digital content built from Cincinnati, for Cincinnati. This is The Crown.
We're on our way to the Bonbonnery. I'm excited. I'm from Cincinnati, and the Bonbonnery has been here forever, legendary. Today, we're gonna bake cookies and cakes and stuff and get a behind-the-scenes tour. And it's gonna be really fun and dynamic, and I love baking. I don't really like cooking as much, cooking meat kind of wigs me out, but I really like baking. Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, and today we're at the Bonbonnery here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Technically in O'Briensville Square. It is a bakery, a deli. It has a nice little cafe in it and a tea room. So let's go see everything about it today. Today I'm gonna make cookies and some cakes and just see exactly how it all works. Okay, so Pat, you're involved. What is your role here?
I run our wholesale department.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Pat and I know each other from high school, right?
Yeah, the neighborhood.
Cincinnati's
Mount Lookout,
small.
Hyde Park.
Cincinnati's small. We
Yep.
all know each other.
Yep.
And it is your aunt who.
Yeah, I call her an aunt. She's a cousin. Mary Pat Pace and Sharon
Gotcha.
Butler are the two owners.
Well, that's fantastic. Let's go check it out.
Let's do it.
You know, I did work in the food industry for a very long time. My parents had a restaurant, and then before that, I worked like in 25 different restaurants because I just kept getting promotions. Hi, great to see you. Great, how are you? Charlie, look how beautiful these things are. Oh, it's wild. I'm gonna try to make them just as pretty. We're getting the official behind-the-scenes tour. Look at these ladies. Ooh. Good morning.
So yeah,
hello.
this is our decorating team. Here's the cake
Oh my
team.
gosh. Wow, how many do you make at one time?
Right now, well, this is usually about half what we do, but this is about 60 as a 6-inch and about 20 of the 9-inch.
Wow.
Everything's made fresh, and we don't really have like a huge factory or commissary.
Hi, ladies. Hi, good morning.
Welcome back to The Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I am joined by the Executive Director of Blink, Vice President within the Cincinnati Regional Chamber. Leslie Mooney is my guest. Leslie, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Jack. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. You've had a busy week. You had your big announcement on Monday with a lot of details about Blink and the various artists that are going to be involved. How is all the planning going?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's going great, first of all. We are, I think, a little ahead of things. Obviously, this being our 5th Blink and now nearly 10 years since the very first one in 2017. Things moving along. We are in what I've been calling fondly and then some in property permission season, if you will.
Oh,
and
sure.
So, it took us quite a few, with over 800 artist submissions back as, it started last summer, really, and into the fall. Took several months, of course, to go through the curatorial process, and so many wonderful artists who applied. So that really, that concluded around the beginning of the year, and now it's looking at all of our different sites and where we're going to have the projections and where we're going to put the light-based installations and paint new murals, and so yeah. But all of that's going along swimmingly.
I suppose it's probably fair to say we need to just establish that Blink, which is illuminated by ArtsWave, by the way, is the largest public light and art festival in the country? Is some kind of stat like that?
Yeah, you nailed it. Yes, both in terms of attendance and in terms of just sheer geographical size, number of art pieces and artists involved. We have become, fairly quickly the largest in the United States and really the second largest in the world, second only to Vivid Sydney, which has been around quite a bit longer than us, and honestly was one of the biggest inspirations for the original founders of Blink.
Yeah.
And so it's still going strong. In fact, we had a team over there, our co-founders Agar and one of longtime Blink artist Chaske Haverkos actually had a piece with an Australian muralist and graffiti artist named Sofuls in Vivid just about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
So sort of a Blink over into Vivid, which was a very full circle moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is, I think, one of the most unique things that this city does. In the years that Blink has gone on, I have reached out to old college friends and old, summer camp friends, none of them who live around here, and say to them, you should really plan on coming to Cincinnati in the fall in even years.
Yeah.
Because what's happening here with Blink is an amazing thing.
Well, I appreciate you as being one of our ambassadors.
I'm a Blink backer.
I mean, I've only been in this role for about a year, and that's probably been the most common thing that I hear is either something like that, and I want to encourage people to book your hotel rooms now, or tell your friends and family to get their hotel rooms, because I mean, honestly, so many people have said, oh, my wife and I love it so much, we get a hotel on Friday night, we make a whole, so we don't even have to worry about parking. We just come down, we do daytime stuff in OTR or over in Covington or wherever, down at the banks, and then it makes it feels like a staycation, right? And then obviously, bringing in friends and family. I did the same thing last time around in 2024. My dad was in town, and so
how many blocks is Blink? How big is it?
It's about 30 blocks across, all the way from Covington all the way up north to Findlay Market. So I mean, it's and we really try. This is one of probably the biggest challenges, obviously, is that footprint, but really making the wayfinding, making it accessible for people of all different abilities and capabilities, and also just not having that sort of dark pockets, but also making sure people know kind of which path to go or to choose next. So
I think the words logistical nightmare, like that doesn't seem like an overstatement, right? You, as the executive director here, are coordinating with a bunch of different artists, of whom that was a part of Monday's big announcement. You are coordinating with various businesses to have either murals painted on their walls or to have all sorts of lights and lasers zapped on their walls over the course of a couple of days. You're working with God knows how many local leaders in Cincinnati and in Covington. Look that's a beautiful picture that from a previous Blink.
Yep.
You are coordinating on so many levels. The fact that you're here talking to me at all right now, I got to tell you, I'm kind of stoked.
Well, I know. I have been asked, that's another thing that's happened that was sort of surprising from people outside of Cincinnati, from other municipalities, at public art conferences, or just phone calls that I've gotten. They say, how in the world do you all do this, right? Like, just and not in a braggy sort of way, but just like, I think, right, so many, it takes so many different entities, and I can't say enough about how wonderful it is to work with the city, both the city of Covington and the city of Cincinnati. I mean, we've been having monthly meetings on everything with fire, police, traffic, the special events folks down at City Hall on both sides of the river. We definitely couldn't do it without that immense coordinated planning. And again, going into our 5th iteration doesn't necessarily make it any easier every time new things have to be figured out. Which roads are we going to close? Which buildings are we going to be projecting on? Where are we going to erect scaffolds and towers and that kind of thing? But it absolutely has to be, and that's what I tell everybody. And I don't necessarily have an easy way for other municipalities to replicate it, other than to say you have to have the buy-in and you have to have the big thinking, the big picture thinking, and frankly the audacity to sort of say, like, we're going to do this huge thing that takes also considerable amount of resources. Like, there's no bones about it. It's a free public art event, which is incredible, and also something that is so difficult to replicate, but it's certainly not free to put on, right? Like, it costs millions of dollars to bring in the projection equipment, and all the labor that it takes, and to pay the artists, which we're super proud of, local artists, international, national artists. They're all getting paid to have their work in Blink, and so we spend a lot of time also trying to coordinate the resources to get all that done.
Do you get, when you're talking about trying to get people to buy in and the audacity of these big asks, I mean, you probably get some people that own buildings right in the heart of what you're looking to do that say, I I don't really feel like having all these lights shined on my building.
Very rarely, and
Yeah.
honestly, the only time it seems to really happen is if it's folks that don't live in Cincinnati
Okay.
and haven't necessarily seen a blink.
They
It
don't
is
get it.
really difficult to get to. I have found that to articulate what it is to someone that's never been here, even with the video, and we have such fantastic now, especially having 4 of these before, like video content and photography. But you know how it is for anybody that's been here, and you feel that energy, and that's the biggest reason why I wanted to take on this role and why I love Blink and have been a Blink fan, is because I am a huge cheerleader for this city, for this region, and to have something that showcases our city, that showcases our artists and our architecture in this way on such an international stage is just, it's huge. And so it's, as far as that's been probably another big surprise to me, is how many people want to be on the Blink footprint. Property owners, developers, they reach out maybe even more, or certainly as much as artists do, that want to be a part of, in the lead up, in the kind of off years, people say, how can I get a projection on my building? How can we get a mural painted on it? So I think for those that are local, that are really kind of in it and have seen it and see the vibrancy of it, it's for the most part, 95% easy ask.
Well, if you know, right? And especially
exactly.
after those first couple, it started, Luminosity was just some projection mapping onto
Yeah.
Music Hall in 2013.
It started,
And then it turned into a citywide thing, and the chamber sort of taking the helm on things, which I think is an interesting part of this event. This is, again, a big public art event that runs multiple nights in the city. It's all totally free. But your work specifically being at the chamber and the coordination with all sorts of businesses that see an economic impact of this. It's art, so there's a cultural impact, there's a civic impact of families and people finding connection and meaning, and I can get into all sorts of philosophical nonsense about art. But also, because this is a business show, the chamber's involvement and businesses and the economic impact of this thing, not just what you said with millions in spending to bring stuff here, but when people come and they go to a bar or a restaurant, and all the other money that gets spent out of towners coming into hotels. It's a tremendous economic impact.
Yes. In fact, the one I just heard the other day, that one of the local bars downtown, which is one of our oldest, maybe the oldest bar in downtown, remarked to our organizer in 2024 that the 2024 Blink actually saved that bar. The foot traffic that it drove there. And so, not to be hyperbolic at all, because we know it also, every time there's a large event downtown, there's also some logistics that have to be worked out to make sure that people can get here and get into our bars and restaurants and all that kind of good stuff. But listen, I would say, just like South by Southwest has become such a boon to Austin in so many ways, that's what we hope to continue to see and build on for Blink. And so I've been, my message to, whether it's going to talk to the Over the Rhine Chamber or going to meet NKY and the Covington businesses, is lean in. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily, I have my favorite example from 2024 was at Colette, which is a restaurant in OTR.
A really nice French place that's just right here by Washington Park.
That's right. And you might think okay, well, the people coming down for Blink probably don't want to stop into Colette and have an hour and a half meal necessarily, or maybe they do, but the brilliant thing that the chef there, Danny Combs, did was come out, recognizing that, right? Came out onto the street, because there was, they're basically right off of Washington Park, and so there's all this foot traffic, so many people down there, and he's literally using a blowtorch in his hand to do gourmet hot chocolates, and roasting marshmallows. So it almost like he basically put on a show and capitalizing on these millions of people that are just, walking in front of his business that wouldn't necessarily have known about it or come down specifically to eat that night, and a very limited menu of gourmet grilled cheeses and whatever else it was. But I think that's the type of thing that I'm encouraging of, I would love to see more of, and so it's a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's really what we're all about. And so the fact that it lives at the chamber to me makes perfect sense when you put it in those terms.
Yeah.
And it was $205 million worth of economic impact in 2024.
And so, and what are the different sort of spending categories we're talking about on
So
that?
some of that is direct spending, right? Of the money that we're putting in, local labor. We hire a ton of local labor to help with erecting all of the projectors and the scaffolds and the light-based installations and all that kind of stuff. And but then a lot of it is the indirect of what the folks that are coming in or just coming downtown from the suburban areas are spending, right? So they're spending in the restaurants, they're spending in stores, to park, to stay in our hotels. I mean, I think another maybe lesser known statistic, but one I think is super impressive and one we want to continue to grow on, is the occupancy rate in the downtown hotels in Cincinnati on the Friday and Saturday nights are 85% or better, or they were in 2024, which is about 25% better than they are in an off blink year on the same weekend. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So we're seeing a delta already. We would love to get that to 100%, make it like a home Bengals game, where all the downtown hotels are sold out. And so we've been doing a lot of work in that regard too. And so partnering with CVG, partnering with some of their, airlines like British Airways, who's increased their direct flights from London to Cincinnati, with Delta, with our partners at Visit Cincy and Meet NKY, to say this is a reason to come to Cincinnati. It's the largest in the United States, second largest in the world.
And we're going to beat those Aussies soon too on this.
That's right.
Because it's important. It's a competition. Don't blink. We are going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the announcement from this week, what's going to be different about Blink in 2026, and more with Leslie Mooney coming up. You're watching The Working Lunch on The Crown. Stick around.
Why were you there?
To have a drink.
How old were you?
I was in my 20s.
Yeah. You've told me this story before, and it started, you said that you were working and then you went to the pavilion because that was the cool spot at the time, which, by the way, it was cool when I was a kid too. RIP to the pavilion in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that you were waiting for my dad, on the back patio.
Yeah, I was. I'm watching these 3 red balls in the sky. I was sitting with people, and I wouldn't tell anyone.
Really?
No, I would not, because I thought, they'll think I'm nuts.
Yeah.
But I'm watching these things, and then they zoomed off.
Well,
so fast.
Have you ever seen anything like that since?
No.
All right, so that explains a lot, because all growing up, you were obsessed with the movie Alien. I saw the movie Alien when I was 5. And
I was bad.
Yeah, you were bad. I also saw the movie.
I was.
I
know.
I also saw the movie It when I was 5 and had nightmares and peed the bed for a decade after that. I peed the bed for so long and had nightmares from watching the movie It when I was a kid. And you watched X-Files a lot, just all Stephen King stuff, supernatural and alien stuff.
I'm very into Stephen King.
You did read all the books too.
I did. I did. And I missed that tremendously. Being able to read a book.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, so this is my mom.
Hello.
Hi, my name is hi, my name is Natalie Jones. And this is my mother, Mary Beth. And actually, what is your last name?
Every morning, Cincinnati wakes up and gets to work. Companies are built, deals are made, restaurants open, ideas become careers. And every day, the people behind it all sit down at the working lunch. Founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, community leaders, the people building Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays, noon to 1, only on The Crown.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network. Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
You know, I was sitting here watching this thing. Honestly, what am I supposed to say that's going to be better than just what people there are watching? That is footage from, is that just from the previous Blink, or is that sort of a compilation of multi-Blinks?
No, this is just the 2024 highlight reel, actually. So all that art and crowd shots that you just saw was all in 2024. Yeah.
It's the coolest thing this city does. I love Blink very, very much, and I'm so impressed at the work that goes into putting that on. It's coming up in October. A free light and art festival. It's going to be downtown. There's no way that you're going to be able to swing a dead cat in this town without anybody talking about Blink in October. Leslie Mooney is my guest. She's the executive director of Blink. Leslie, you guys made your big announcement on Monday as far as what people can expect to be a part of the festival this year. What are some of the big things that people can look for that's going to be different than what they've seen before?
Yeah, well, you know, this is the thing about Blink, is keeping things fresh, about the unexpected and that kind of awe and wonder. And so there will be, yes, absolutely, there's some really incredible things, for instance, on some of our marquee architectural gems like Music Hall. We're actually going to do a really powerful, I think, a moving tribute to America 250, actually, on Music Hall. It'll be set to a piece that was actually commissioned back in the 1940s, post-World War II, by our wonderful Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. So that's going to be awesome. But then there'll also be some, you know, we got to try some things out with Blink, too. There's a little bit of experimentation, so people will see some things. And listen, it may not all be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. That's a big part of what Blink was founded
what are we
on.
teasing out here? What are you talking about?
Well, there'll be some interactive performance-based projections as well.
Okay.
And so I think those will, and most of those folks, a couple of artists I'm thinking of particularly, have done things like working with Beyonce's concert tours and at Sphere in Las Vegas. And so they'll be larger than life. And, you know, obviously everything, really the only thing we tell artists is that it's got to be family friendly, available, you know, open to people of all ages. So it will all be that. But I mean, it's art, right? So there'll be some new and cool and weird stuff, I think, going on out there. Yeah, so I mean, that has been probably the most fun and exciting thing, was going through all of the artist submissions and just seeing the creativity and how excited people are to be a part of Blink and share their best work. Because really, for the projection mapping and the murals that will go up, and we will have, this is another big thing that we announced on Monday, is that we're going to actually have close to 20 new murals that Blink will be painting.
No kidding.
Yes, and some of the best international muralists from everywhere will come into Cincinnati to paint this gallery. And we've been building many murals have been added. I think it's almost 80 murals in the Finley Market area. But this year we'll actually be adding about 10 new murals in Covington as well. So these kind of blink leave-behinds, if you will, that will continue to enliven the Covington streets long after the 4-day festival has gone is something that we're really excited to debut in 2026 as well.
You talk about all those different artists that are involved in this. What is the process for that? Are you guys have fill out a form on our website to apply, or are you going out and meeting and pitching light experts on how to blast lasers at a building?
Well, we do a mix of both. I mean, there's a lot of going out and talking to artists to try to make sure that people know about it. First of all, again, it's a worldwide open call, so it's making those connections. Which, again, now that we've built up the reputation, that it was much more like that, right, in the earliest days.
Yeah.
But now that we have the reputation, there are a lot of people that just find us and kind of know to be aware, because we opened the call last July. So July of 2025 is actually when we put it out. And we closed it in September, but it's still, that's a whole year before the festival actually is going to take place. So it is a little bit of getting artists in the routine of being aware of when that's going to come online. And then we have a curatorial committee, mostly local. We had actually one South Korean projection mapping artist who was a part of the curatorial committee, but otherwise the other 5 this year were all local. They're on our website. You can go look them up. They represent arts institutions and universities here in the greater Cincinnati area, and it's a painstaking process, frankly, Jack. It's like I said, it's a labor of love. It's really cool and interesting to see all of the submissions that come in, but between the organizing team and the curatorial committee looking at logistics and budget and what's feasible and what do we know about the massive crowds that come here that sometimes maybe artists don't know, and so having a lot of even just interviews and one-on-one phone calls, it's a time-consuming process, but it comes out with a really, I think, what's going to be the best and most impactful artistry of any Blink this year.
It's my understanding you've got some very talented people on your administration side of things.
Sure do.
Getting it all lined up and getting it all organized. And this is paid work for these artists too, right? They're not just getting paid in exposure and being able to have a light signature on the wall. This is paid work that's going on in the city.
That's right. That's super important. Obviously, we want there are multiple different ways that different light festivals run, or just art festivals period run these types of things. We don't charge a ticket price, which is a unique thing, and we also pay artists. So the combination of that is unique and makes for, I think, a really great product. I think what I started to say earlier is projection mapping and muralists, it's a call for qualification. We want, and I think that's why a lot of artists, particularly those I was just talking about that maybe they're used to working on maybe some bigger commercial type things like large scale concerts or working at Sphere, which is creative, of course, but Blink says you bring your best work, right? We're not necessarily telling you make an ad for XYZ Corporation or whatever. We're saying be as absolutely free and creative as you want to be. What we want to do is showcase your best work, and we're going to pay you for it. And many of them come. Some we transport over. Some we don't. But they want to come because they want to be a part of this incredible thing that's happening in our city.
What is that like for you, working for the chamber, and just again what seems to be an insurmountable logistical challenge of figuring this out and planning it out and putting it on? But then the idea too that this is a free art festival where the talent is getting paid logistically and from a fundraising perspective. That's a pretty unique challenge for you.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding there in terms of, and I wouldn't expect it to be any different. It absolutely costs money to pay the artists, to shut down streets, to pay police, to have, like I mentioned earlier, the projection equipment brought in. We do have a lot of technical partners like Panasonic and Epson and media server companies that help out with some in-kind donation of that. But it's a feat, and so we are fortunate that we have our partners at ArtsWave who recognize how huge this is for our region and for our arts and culture, just being known as the arts and culture capital that it is. Right. Also like I mentioned earlier, buy-in from municipalities, whether that's the Hamilton County Special Event Grants and the City of Cincinnati sponsorship and all that kind of stuff. But there is still a fair amount of corporate partnership and sponsorship that goes into that, and it's not. We're trying to grow as we grow in the recognition of Blink, we grow in the opportunity to bring in corporate partners and brand partners from outside of the Cincinnati area too, that really want to be a part of this awesome thing that
want to get their logo seen by a couple million people over the course of a weekend.
Yeah, and have and have like that mission tie too, right? Like I think that's something that's important to note. I mean, in 2024, Monster Energy came and just kind of their whole thing is like getting Monster cans into people's hands, right? Like, and that's fine. But that was one of the first calls I got last summer was from the person who is responsible for those types of activations, and he called and he lives in Virginia somewhere, and he said, we had no idea what Blink was. Like we saw the video, we said, okay, we'll come down and we'll maybe hand out a couple thousand cans of Monster, and then we came and we were just blown away by the number of people and the energy and how much this ties in, because they do a fair amount of sponsorship of like BMX bikers and skateboarders and graffiti artists, honestly, and balloon artists.
Showing up just to hand out cans feels like a missed opportunity.
Exactly. So they're going to do have a much bigger presence in terms of bringing in some of those partners that they already work with and really being a part of and adding to, I hope, that's the plan, to the festival. So those types of partnerships I think are really, are going to continue to be important and key for growing Blink and for helping us to continue to put it on.
We've got a little bit of time left. I do want to ask just about, you specifically in your professional history in terms of how you got to the Chamber. You were the Director of Development at the Freedom Center for a number of years, and then you spent a number of years at the Clifton Cultural Arts Center. Working in the nonprofit space like that, and even the Chamber technically is a nonprofit.
Sure is, yeah.
What sort of skills did you build, and what did you learn working for those other outfits that are helping to fuel the planning that goes into Blink?
Yeah, well, like with most, really, practically every job I've run up against, it's about relationship building. And so having been here now for nearly 20 years in Cincinnati, and yes, starting in Cincinnati at the Freedom Center, living through the merger with the Museum Center, and then moving on to the Clifton Cultural Arts Center and running a capital campaign there, like all of that really just helped me, and certainly with all the artists that I worked with at CCAC, develop those relationships with those locally. But I mean, my thing is, if you're passionate about what you're talking about, then other people will get excited about it too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly everybody in this city is very excited for Blink. I think it's the coolest thing this city does. It's coming up in October, the Blink Light and Art Festival, illuminated by ArtsWave. That's important. We love ArtsWave. Coming up October 8th through 11th. There we go. Ready, Set, Blink. That's the name of the party that's going to be right by TQL Stadium in lieu of a parade this year.
That's right.
One of the many new things that you're going to get to enjoy when you come out to Blink in October. Leslie Mooney, thank you so very much for coming on the show.
Jack.
Make your plans now. Make your hotel reservations now. If you got a hot dog cart and you're going to sell some food on the street, make the plans to get that corner now, because everything's going to be jammed up come October. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Working Lunch after this. Stick around.
You were not getting college. You went to school for drama.
Yes.
Which is, let me tell you what. If any creatives out there who are not actively creating, it makes you go crazy. And I have witnessed firsthand a creative who didn't professionally create and had to take care of so many damn kids and husbands along the way, and it drove you crazy for so long. Now, as a grown woman at this point and been in my career as long as I have so much perspective on your life and how you were in all of your 30s and your 40s. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, you created in your home. You made, our homes were beautiful, but I feel like, oh my God, because when I don't create, I go nuts. Like, I go absolutely nuts.
I was busy, obviously. I was busy with my children. And
well, I'll say this. You had 4 kids by the time you were 28. We had a great life. We did. Yeah, we had a great life. We weren't the richest, we weren't the smartest, we weren't the anythingist ever. But we had a blast. We had a house, we had a dog, we had a pool, we went to school, we had a bunch of friends.
Thank God I had a rich mother. That helps a lot.
Man, I wonder what that's like. God.
You never know.
I won't. Not at all. Well, so now if you could give me any advice at 40 years old, single girl, what would you say?
Get pregnant. Immediately.
Well, there we go. If anyone's got some
All
strong
official
DNA.
insemination. Just make sure the guy is smart and handsome.
Okay. True.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch, Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. First Word for your morning sports, Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, the working lunch for business that hits home, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe. Cincinnati sports fans are the best. Loyal, passionate, second to none. This city lives and breathes sports, and now it finally has a morning show to match. I'm James Rapine, and this is First Word, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati and the place where every day starts. We break down the biggest moments and set the agenda for the city. Marissa Contepelli and Jacob Tissett join me to bring the insight and energy you need to start your day. The conversation starts with First Word. First Word, weekdays 7 to 11, part of the Crown Network.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. We are wrapping up the show here on Thursday. So glad to have you with us. Please make sure to give us a follow on YouTube. Smash that notification bell. By give us a follow on YouTube, of course, I mean subscribe. There's a bunch of ways you can also watch the show. I'm closing things out, though, with a little bit of a preview of some fun that's coming up this weekend. If you haven't heard of the Concours d'Elegance, it is a annual car show that happens here in town. It goes on the east side of Cincinnati. In Alt Park. We were talking about Hyde Park earlier today. This is a weekend car show that's largely on Sunday in beautiful Alt Park. And if you live anywhere nearby, expect to have just about every parking spot on the street taken up. A ton of people turn out for this. That's a look at a Concours d'Elegance from years past. Alt Park is a gorgeous place, and all these people and all these cars are fun things to check out. That car is, I believe, a car from one of the Fast and Furious movies, which anyone who knows DJ Hodge will be able to tell you that he's a huge fan of the Fast and Furious movies. We've also got this Mercedes here with the cool-looking wings that looks like it should be the kind of car that kids play with as toys. You put a G.I. Joe in them, and when you pop those doors open, it makes the car fly around. This is the 48th Cincinnati Concours. It's going on this Saturday and Sunday at Alt Park. Mercedes-Benz is celebrating its 100th anniversary. That's why that car is one of the many cars that are going to be a part of it. Mercedes-Benz specifically going to have over 200 cars and motorcycles on display. That vehicle we showed you before from Fast and Furious franchises, which that's celebrating its 25th anniversary. It's cool that the Fast and Furious movies are 20 some odd years old. Also, there's going to be some vehicles there from the Disney Pixar series Cars. I guess some stuff that's going to look like Lightning McQueen. They are promising that there's going to be a talking replica of Tow Mater. that's going to be at this event. I never thought I'd be able to say those words in that order, so that's a fun thing. Concours d'Elegance is a very cool thing that happens in Alt Park. Celebration of all things automotive kicks off Saturday afternoon with a countryside tour that's going to leave out of Marymount Square. That'll be followed by a hangar party at Lunken Airport later on in the evening. It's a big weekend for east side of Cincinnati with this event that's going on. And then the car show itself begins at 10 a.m. on Sunday in Alt Park. Again, like I said, parking there's going to be crazy. And so they do want people to know if you're interested, you do need to have tickets. This is a ticketed event. And if you are planning on going, you should go to the Fifth Third lot on Duck Creek Road. That's not exactly super close to where Alt Park is, but I think that's the best they can do for the kind of crowd that's going to be showing up at this and the shuttles that they say they're going to be running every 10 minutes to ferry guests from that Fifth Third on Duck Creek Road over to Alt Park. Again, the car show itself is happening on Sunday. Should be a really fun time. If you want tickets, you want to go to ohioconcours.com. That is a French spelling, and it doesn't make any sense to rattle off all the letters involved in that when you could probably just get on Google and type in fancy car show at Alt Park, and that will get you to the website to get the tickets. It's a very cool event, and if you're at all into cars or motorcycles, it's going to be a very cool thing to check out. Thanks to my guest, Leslie Mooney, the executive director of Blink. Make sure you make plans for Blink this October 8th through 11th. BlinkCincinnati.com is the website for that. We'll be back again tomorrow morning with First Word. James Rapine, Marissa Contapelli, and Jacob Tissett with all the headlines, topics, and takes and more in the sports world. You can watch us on the internet. You can watch us on television. You can watch us through cable. You can watch us through satellite. Various podcasting technology that goes into the show. We're very happy to have you here. All the various shows that we have. Nat Tries That, Natalie Jones Show, The Rebound Rundown with Paul Fritchner, and more. We're going to wrap it and head out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.